Probably a very easy way to tell you straight out the gates if you're going to like this movie, and that is, are you a fan of the storylines from JRPGs, Japanese role-playing games such as Final Fantasy and its ilk? Because if you are, then you may like this movie. We are talking about Garm Wars: The Last Druid. Now this one is directed by Mamoru Oshii. I probably butchered his name there, and as far as I know, isn't based on any particular property. It's a completely original world, universe, but it's basically very much plays like it is part of some kind of like massive universe, like the Final Fantasy games and things like that. It plays like an ethereal dream, I would say, this film, and it's very much anime-esque in its approach, and it's basically a blending of kind of CGI worlds with kind of live action actors, and its storyline is both positive and negatively affected by this kind of like obviously Japanese culture. And the world here is very rich, very textured. There's obviously a very deep mythology that has been kind of thought out behind this film, but that's also to its detriment. And the story here is there once were these 8 sort of great sort of tribes. There's complete sci-fi. There's not on Earth or anything like that, basically. But there's now only 3 of these kind of great tribes left, and one of them is relatively weak anyway. And there's one that's kind of controlling the sort of the skies, one's controlling the land, a third one is really just kind of hanging on by its kind of spare teeth. And it focuses on a small group of heroes led by this kind of female clone. You've got the kind of the wise old man played by Lars Henriksen. You've got the kind of the big brawly guy played by Kevin Durand, and they're kind of obviously fighting the odds, fighting for freedom and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very confusing plot, and I'll be honest with you, I watched this film and within 5 minutes I was confused about what was going on. It literally took 5 minutes thinking, I don't quite understand what's going on, because it does a very poor job of setting up this kind of who these characters are and you know what the actual sort of the point of it all is. And you're kind of dropped in straight away into a kind of a battle. There's very little characterization here. Everyone's using kind of very sort of sci-fi sort of terminology, basically. So you know, you'll be confused straight away, I think. And I was right from, like I say, the first 5 minutes of this film, I didn't know what was going on, and that's not a good sign. And I have to say, it doesn't do a great job of kind of like keeping the audience up to speed with what's going on throughout the whole film. Now, we do get a bit of exposition at the beginning of the movie, so I got the basic idea of the world here, but who the characters were, you'll find it very confusing. Well, I did anyway, so I can only tell you my experience. Now, on the flip side of that, I would say the visual style here. The visual style is not going to be for everyone, but like I said, if you are a fan of Final Fantasy, stuff like that, basically, it's the only one I can think of at the moment, but there's loads of obviously Japanese, Lost Odyssey, all that kind of stuff, then you're going to really like the aesthetics here, because it looks just like a Final Fantasy game. The kind of the ship designs, and there's a splattering of I would say a Dune and maybe a touch of Avatar here as well. But the main influence, obviously, I would say, are these kind of like very, very, very kind of rich textured worlds that you'll sort of see in these kind of video games. The visual choices here, the designs, all the ships, the worlds. You know, fantastic, and the camera always has a kind of very kind of soft focus, so it kind of looks like a dream the whole way through it. So this is obviously made for a certain sort of type of person, and I think there's going to be people who absolutely love this film, and then those are the same people who are going to, like I've mentioned, that are into these games and stuff like that, or into anime specifically. But I think for your mainstream audience, this is really a fact of style over substance. I mean, even the kind of, you know, somewhat established actors like Lance Henriksen, especially Kevin Durand, I have to say, looks uncomfortable to be there. He's got a terrible wig in this for some reason. The main woman, played by Melanie St-Pierre, I believe her name is, I think is probably looks a little bit more sort of comfortable in her role. There are some good action set pieces here, and there are some quite imaginative special effects, but the story is just so poorly put together, I think, for a kind of for a mainstream audience, it's just garbled, confusing. You just don't know what the hell's going on. You're not quite sure who you should be rooting for a lot of the time. So unfortunately it makes it kind of quite unwatchable to certain degrees. Now, like I said, so this is going to be a really divisive review. So if you are a fan of these kind of things, the stories, you can kind of just accept certain things. And this is why the problem is with me, when I watch anime, I feel you have to kind of just accept certain things. And this is the way the Japanese do it. And they're not the best storytellers necessarily, because a lot of their stuff seems kind of rushed. And this is the same with this one, even though it's not purely a Japanese project. It was written by Mamoru Oshii and also by Jeffrey Gunn. So I'm going to give this movie a 5 out of 10. Visually it's very interesting. Even that I would say is going to be a bit OTT for some people, but if you're a fan of this kind of stuff, you're going to love this movie. But the story for me was just terrible, I'll be honest with you. It was just, the ending, my god, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but very frustrating ending, I have to be honest with you. So 5 out of 10 for me. Visually a feast, but story-wise, it doesn't keep you engaged because it just stumbles across its own ambition, basically. It's 5 out of 10 for me. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.